Peace to everybody, back with another video. This is breaking news. DMX dead at 50, and as you can see here in the photo is DMX himself, who had passed at the age of 50. DMX has died a week after suffering an overdose. TMZ has learned, so TMZ has learned that DMX has died at the age of 50 after an overdose. TMZ broke the story. X had virtually no brain function after he was deprived of oxygen for nearly 30 minutes, following his OD. I'm sorry, and I do apologize. Brain function never returned, and by Thursday his organs began failing while he remained on life support in a New York hospital. So TMZ broke the story that X had virtually no brain function whatsoever after he was deprived of oxygen for nearly 30 minutes. Now, being deprived Now, being deprived for 30 minutes of oxygen, I would say that's pretty much cruelty right there. And of course, following his OD. Many people in X's family were at the hospital over the last week, including his mom, fiance, and many of his kids. So yeah, most of his family members were there at the hospital, including his fiance as well. A rep for his family tells TMZ, "We are deeply saddened to announce today that our loved one DMX, birth name of Earl Simmons, passed away at age 50 years old at White Plains Hospital with his family by his side after being placed on life support for the past few days. Earl was a warrior who fought till the very end." Yes, so there was a representative for his family. That representative told TMZ, "We are deeply saddened to announce that our loved one DMX, birth name of Earl Simmons," because that's his real name, he has passed away at age 50 at the White Plains Hospital with his family by his side after being placed on life support. The statement continues, "He loved his family with all of his heart, and we cherish the times we spent with him. Earl's music inspired countless fans across the world. His iconic legacy will live on forever. We appreciate all of the love and support during this incredibly difficult time. Please respect our privacy as we grieve the loss of our brother, father, uncle, and the man the world knew as DMX. We will share information about his memorial service once details are finalized." Yes, so this is what the statement has continued to say. They said that he loved his family with all of his heart. They also said that we cherish the times we spent with him. Earl's music inspired countless fans across the world, and his iconic legacy will live on forever. He was also they said, "Please respect our privacy as we grieve the loss of our brother, father, uncle, and the man the world knew as DMX." Then, of course, they also said, "We will share information about his memorial service once details are finalized." DMX got his start in music back in the 80s, performing with Reddy Ron, while simultaneously serving time behind bars until he finally dedicated himself to music full-time in the 90s. He eventually got signed to Columbia Records, Rough House imprint, and appeared on records with Jay-Z, LL Cool J, Mace, and even the rock band Sum 41. So DMX had got himself into the music business in the 80s, performing with Reddy Ron while simultaneously serving time behind bars. And of course, until he finally dedicated himself to music full time in the 90s, he eventually got signed to Columbia Records as well. Also, he appeared on the records with Jay-Z, LL Cool J, Mace, and even the rock band Sum 41. It wasn't until '98 that he truly broke out when he released his Rough Riders debut studio album, Is Dark and Hell is Hot. Two critical and mainstream acclaim, not to mention he added his new Canadian persona. Yes, so it wasn't until '98 that he truly broke out when he released his Rough Riders debut studio, and the album was called As Dark and Hell is Hot. He also took critical the mainstream acclaim. Here's one of his videos. I will not play it. IDAHIA produced 4 singles, including the well-known Get At Me Dog, How's It Going Down, Stop Being Greedy, and the track that might perhaps his best known, the Rough Riders anthem, which became to be the song everyone played to get hyped. Yes, so that's what it was. The well-known song is called Get At Me Dog and How's It Going Down. Stop Being Greedy, and the track that might perhaps his best known, the Rough Riders anthem as well. Rough Riders has gone down in history as one of the greatest hip-hop songs ever, and it ended up making it on Billboard's Hot 100 chart. And so that song has made it to its way to the Billboard's Hot 100 charts. Rough Riders. He followed up that success quickly with a second album later the same year. Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood came out in December of '98 and ended up hitting #1 at the time. He was the second rapper to release back-to-back albums in the same year, the first being Tupac. Yeah, so DMX had his was the second rapper to come out with albums from back to back, and but Tupac was #1 at the time, was the first one to have all those albums come out. He also DMX had followed up that success quickly with a second album later the same year. It was called Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood. Came out in December of '98 as well. And of course, here is another video I will not play. At that point, DMX had cemented himself and his sound, abrasive, rough around the edges, but also catchy and great for parties and getting amped. His third album hit that last point home with single Party Up in Here, another one of X's notorious songs that helped him get major play on radio, in clubs, and in movies. Yeah, so at the time, DMX had disseminated himself and his sound. Of course, he abrasive, rough around the edges. There was another single that he had was called Party Up in Here, another one of X's notorious songs that helped him get major play on radio. Speaking of movies, X himself made his feature film debut in the 2000s, Romeo Must Die, which starred Jet Li playing a version of Romeo opposite Aaliyah. Yeah, so speaking of movies, X himself made his feature film debut in the 2000s. It's called Romeo Must Die. It started Jet Li playing a version of Romeo opposite of Aaliyah. So he was with Aaliyah at that time. Here's another video which I will not play. He went on to star in a number of memorable flicks after that, as the 2000s rolled on, Exit Wounds and Cradle to the Grave come to mind. So do Never Dine Alone and Last Hour. Safe to say X was making a name for himself both in and out of music, but of course he was fighting legal battles in the background at the same time. Yeah, so DMX was also fighting legal battles back during the time too. Also, he of course he went on to star in a number of memorable flicks. It's called Exit Wounds, Cradle to the Grave. Come to mind of it also, it was called Never Die Alone and Last Hour. They also said safe to say X was making a name for himself both in and out of music. Over the years, he got rung up on many charges: weapons, drugs, DUI, and later tax evasion. He served time for some of those cases, but always continued his music career. Yeah, so they had got him for weapons, drugs, DUI, and then, of course, later, somewhere down the road, they got him for tax evasion as well. He did serve time for some of those cases, but he did continue his music career. As he struggled with the law, X continued to crank out hits, including the memorable X Gone, Give It To Ya, Where the Hood At, and Lord, Give Me a Sign, as well as We In Here. Yes, so he struggled with the law as well. X continued to crank out hits, including the memorable X Gonna Give It To Ya, Where the Hood At, and Lord, Give Me a Sign, as well as We In Here. He really seemed to turn his life around in 2019 after ending a 12-month sentence for tax evasion. DMX had long battled substance abuse. It was at this point that he did his last rehab stint. And so DMX seemed to turn his life around in 2019 after a 12-month sentence for tax evasion. So that was the longest one. DMX did have battle substance abuse with drugs, and of course, you know what the drugs are, but I don't need to say it, but you get the idea. After he was looking better than he had in years and made his return to the stage in December of 2019 when he hit Hawkinson in Las Vegas, chatting it up and taking photos with fans before he hit the stage. So yeah, after he was looking better, he was looking better than he had in years, because you know in years you do all the drugs and everything else. Then of course he was with his friends in Las Vegas, chatting it up and taking photos with fans before he hit the stage. In another sign of just how beloved he was by fans and the industry, DMX of all people created a new Christmas classic in 2012 when he freestyled his own version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It had all the charm his audience had come to love about the man. Yeah, so another sign that he was loved, he had did a created a new Christmas classic in 2012 when he freestyled his own version of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. It had all the charm his audience had come to love about the man. In July 2020, fans worldwide watched as legends DMX and Snoop Dogg faced off in a versus battle with over 500,000 viewers on Instagram Live. So that was a whole lot of viewers. Over 500,000 viewers on Instagram Live for the battle rap. Fans worldwide watched DMX and Snoop Dogg at that time. So here is the picture of DMX on the left and Snoop Dogg on the right. And this is what the battle rap was like on July 23rd, 2020 at the time. The rappers complimented each other as they spit some of their most iconic tracks, like when DMX hopped on and joined Snoop for Ain't No Fun. Snoop also got down with Drop It Like It's Hot and Gin and Juice, while DMX spit Where My Dogs At and his midget song X Gonna Give It To Ya, which brought Snoop out of his seat. Yeah, so the rappers complimented each other from the battle rap, of course, and then they spit some of their most iconic tracks, like when DMX hopped on and joined Snoop for Ain't No Fun. Snoop also got down with Drop It Like It's Hot and Gin and Juice, while DMX spit Where My Dogs At. And of course, X Gonna Give It To Ya, which brought Snoop out of his seat. So they just blew Snoop Dogg right out of his seat. The last time our cameras caught him out was in July of 2019, and DMX talked to us about the importance of being safe on movie sets when doing action scenes and stunts. So that was the last time TMZ caught DMX. It was in July of 2019, and DMX talked to them about the importance of being safe on movie sets when doing action scene and stunts. And of course, here's DMX with his family. DMX is survived by his 15 children. The youngest was born in 2016 to his fiancee Desiree Lindstrom. X was 50 and RIP. So, yeah, DMX is survived by his 15 children. The youngest was born in 2016 to his fiancee Desiree Lindstrom. So, and this is his family right here, of course. And of course, I know the family is going to need privacy for what has happened, including all of his children, and even his fiancee. I know she's going to feel hurt for a while for what happened to him. And this is a devastating time that the family is going to need privacy for what has happened to DMX. And it's just a cruel world that this is happening, that everything is happening. My condolences to his family. May they find peace in their heart, and may they find love as well. Leave your comments below. I am out.